Hello everyone, here we go again. This is our new lesson for Wednesday, July 1st. We're gonna start now solving equations, and as always, the first um, lesson on this unit is solving simple equations. Simple equation means one-step equations, okay? So I'm gonna do just one video and I'm gonna go back and forth between English and Spanish, and I hope you guys don't mind. But this is a very easy topic and you should remember this, okay? So we are solving simple equations. That means solving linear equations is just a matter of undoing operations that are being done to the variable. Remember, variables are any letters of the alphabet, all right? A variable is an unknown value, okay? Also, remember, the task is always to isolate the variable. Get the variable alone on one side of the equal sign, okay? It's written down here in English, but I'm going to translate it in Spanish, all right? So, para resolver ecuaciones simples, estamos hablando de ecuaciones de un paso nada más, ¿ok? Y acuérdense, la idea es eliminar la operación, ¿ok? Que se está al lado de la variable, ¿ok? Acuérdense, muchachos, que lo más importante es dejar la variable sola en un lado de la igualdad. Por ejemplo, aquí yo puedo ver que este es el signo de igualdad, ¿ok? Este es un lado de la ecuación, este es el otro lado de la ecuación. Por lo tanto, lo que pase en este lado tiene que pasar en este lado, de manera que mantengamos la balanza pareja. ¿Ok, guys? The equal signs divide the equation in two sides, the left side and the right side. And the idea is to leave the variable alone in one side of the equation, okay? If the variable is not alone, that means that the equation is not solved, okay? So remember, when we're solving, we're finding the value of a variable. And a variable is a letter. Like I said before, it can be any letter of the alphabet, okay? So, una variable puede ser cualquier letra del alfabeto. O sea, una variable tiene un valor desconocido. Y ese es el goal, esa es la meta, encontrar el valor de esa variable. Por lo tanto, tenemos que dejar la variable sola en cualquiera de los dos lados. Porque cuando es una igualdad, no importa dónde la variable esté, ¿ok? Ahora, algo muy importante, que recuerden que la idea es de mantener la balanza pareja, la balanza even, okay? The goal is to keep the equation balanced. So, whatever I do in that side, like I told you before, I must do on the other side. So, lo que yo haga en este lado, tengo que hacerlo en el otro lado. De manera que la balanza siempre esté pareja, ¿ok? Hay dos cosas que ustedes tienen que saber. Ok, dos cosas. Una porque aplica para todos, ¿ok? La suma elimina las resta. Y al revés, o sea, la resta elimina la suma. La multiplicación elimina la división y la división elimina la multiplicación, ¿ok? Adding undo subtraction and vice versa. A multiplication undo division and vice versa. That means that division undo multiplication and subtraction undo addition. So I always call those like opposite operations, okay? All right, so now that you have an idea what the whole topic is all about, so we're going to do some problems, okay? Ahora que ya sabemos de lo que se trata el tema, vamos a hacer los primeros problemas, okay? So, I have everything in both languages, English, Spanish, okay? So I'm going to do the explanation in English, but you also have it here in Spanish, okay? So my first instructions says, solve the following simple equations using addition or subtraction. So in this part right here, we're going to do addition and subtraction. So, en este paso aquí, muchachos, en estos problemas vamos a usar nada más suma y resta. Nada de multiplicación, nada de división. Recuerden lo que dije anterior. La suma mata la resta mata la suma. So, siempre tenemos que hacer la operación opuesta. Okay, guys? Remember, we always do the opposite operation. So if we're adding, we're supposed to subtract. And if we're subtracting, we're supposed to add. Okay? So problem number 1. X minus 2.5 equals negative 6. What I'm actually looking for here is the value of x. They're going to subtract 2.5 gives me negative 6. Lo que ando haciendo aquí, muchachos, es buscando el valor de x que cuando lo reste 2.5 me dé negativo 6. Remember what I said in class. You always consider doing the borderline, okay? Línea divisoria, borderline. So the goal is to leave the x alone. So this number right here, the constant, okay, has to go to the other side of the equation. And remember, because we're subtracting, what is the opposite of subtraction? Addition. So we're going to do plus. So plus 2.5 here, plus 2.5 there. Now we perform our operation. So obviously, when I do the opposite operation, I'm eliminating the value of the constant in this side of the equation. Ok, muchachos, cuando hacemos la operación opuesta, estamos eliminando el término en este lado, que es la meta. La meta es que quede la x sola. So the goal is to keep the x alone. So if to negative 2.5 I add 2.5, I get 0. Okay, so I will have x here alone. All right, and I just use my calculator, so you can use the rules of addition of sign numbers. All right, so negative 6 plus 2.5, if you put down the calculator just the way it is, negative 6 plus 2.5, you're going to get negative 3.5. So that means that the value of x is negative 3.5. So if to negative 3.5 I subtract 2.5, it will give me negative 6. Okay? So everybody should remember that. Now remember, guys, the order is not important. Okay? Because when it's addition, remember the addition is commutative. So if you're confused because you always expect to see the variable first and the constant after, you can just rearrange this. But you don't have to. Because remember, the idea is to leave the m alone. Okay? So this number must go to the other side. Okay? Even though there is not a sign here, automatically that 23 is positive. So what will be the positive, the opposite of 23? Minus 23. So you'll do minus 23 in both sides. Remember, when you do in one side, you must do in the other side to keep the balance, to keep the equation balanced. Okay. So my goal is to eliminate the 23. So when I add the opposite, that becomes 0. So that cancels out. So I will have m, which is what I want to do. And if I combine these two numbers, because they have the same sign, if I do the rule of sign numbers, when I add two numbers with the same sign, you add the numbers and you keep the sign. So your answer should be negative 38. So that will be the value of m. Okay? So m equals negative 38. That should be your answer for that one. And for here, x should be equal to negative 3.5. This is basic stuff. This is just like simple. All right? Remember, the goal is to do the opposite operation. La meta es siempre hacer la operación opuesta. Remember, addition kills subtraction and vice versa. La suma mata la resta y al revés. La resta mata la suma. And the same thing happened with the multiplication. Multiplication undo division. And division undo multiplication. All right? So, igual la multiplicación elimina la división y la división elimina la multiplicación. Son opuestas. Okay. Let's take a look at number 3. Number 3, the variable is in the right side. It does not matter where the variable it is. Okay? Now, if you get confused, if you think it's better, right, you can just flip it. Because when you have an equation, it doesn't matter how you write it. It's going to be the same thing either way you write it. So if you feel uncomfortable, rewrite this way. X plus 0.4 equals 2. Okay? If it helps you, if you think this is better for you, so do it that way. Okay? So what's going to happen here? I'm looking for the value of k. So that means that this 0.4 has to go to the right side because my goal is to keep the k by itself. So because I'm adding, I'm going to subtract. So minus 0.4, here is minus 0.4. So when I perform my operation, okay, that cancels out and I have k equals what? Negative 1.6, because remember 2 minus 0.04, if you put that in the calculator, you're going to get k equals negative 1.6. So that should be your answer. You didn't have to rearrange this. I'm just doing it because if you think it's easy for you, do it that way. Okay, so you could also just move the 0.4 to this side and you will have the same answer. Okay, so I'm sorry, this is positive. My bad, guys. So 2 minus 0.4, it will give you positive 1.6. Here, remember, this is my borderline, okay? The 24 must go to this side because why? Because I want to leave the W alone. Remember, the variable can be any letter of the alphabet. Now, because this one is a plus, I'm going to do minus, okay? So I'll do minus 2.4 here, minus 2.4 there. That cancels out, and I will have W equals. Now, when I combine these two numbers, remember the sign numbers, when if they have the same sign, you add them up and you keep the sign. So I know my answer is going to be negative because I'm combining, I'm not multiplying. So now, negative 9 minus 2.4, or you can say in the calculator, negative 9 plus negative 2.4, you will get negative 11.4. I'm not using the calculator, but you can use the calculator because I know, like the rules for adding and subtracting sign numbers, okay? So let's move on. You see what I mean? This one is just like that, okay? I know some kids all are used to seeing the variable before, but that's not a problem. Remember, the variable, you can move everything that is around the variable. It doesn't matter in which side the variable is. Jóvenes, no importa el orden el que les presenten la ecuación. Esta es igual a esta, ¿se dan cuenta? ¿Okay? En esta, la variable está primero, la constante está después. Aquí está la constante primero y la variable después. No importa, muchachos. La idea es que ustedes dejen la variable sola en ese lado, en el lado que está. ¿Ok? So, ustedes van a eliminar el número que esté en el lado de la variable. ¿Ok? So, en este caso, el número que voy a eliminar es el negativo 16 porque este tiene que viajar. All right? So, negative 16 must go to the other side of the equation, must travel. I always tell you to talk about traveling, all right? So, because the number is negative, I'm going to plus it. So, plus 16 in both sides. That cancels out because the idea, and I have x equals what? 1. Why? Because that's negative 16 and that's positive 16. Think about money, guys. If you have $16 and you spend 15, you have 1 left, okay? Or just put it in the calculator. Just write exactly the way it's there, okay? Negative 15, remember guys, to use the negative, use this sign right here, okay? This is when the number is negative and that is the subtraction operation sign, okay? So 2 different things. So what I will do is, I will do negative this number, this sign, and I'm gonna type 15, right? Plus, okay, 16, and you do enter, and you get 1, okay? So remember, you can always use the calculator, but try not to because this is simple stuff. This one is just like that. That's what I was talking about, okay? If you want to rearrange them, go ahead, do it. But you don't have to, because if the variable is in the right side rather than the left side like this one, the number that has to travel is the number which is next to the variable, not the one that is already alone in the other side of the equation. So if you want, you can do exactly what I did here, rearrange them, all right? But again, you don't have to, because in this case, the number that has to travel has to be this one, and that will come to this side, and because it's negative, you will do a plus, all right? Plus 15 here, plus 15 here. Let me do my backs here, because I like to do that for my answers. So this one is traveling, so that will cancel out. Now the M stay on the right side. It doesn't matter, because remember, an equation means that the both sides are the same. Now remember, guys, if you have $15 and you spend 17, you don't have enough. So you're missing, you're short $2. So your answer should be -2. All right, that will be the answer. Now, if you're gonna write your answer like M equals -2, that's also correct, okay? So remember, okay? Now, remember, you don't know the rule for adding sign numbers. Use your calculator. So this is what I'm going to do, okay? I'm going to do my -17. Remember, -17, I have to use this button right here, this one, -17, all right? And it's already there, right? Now, what's the other number? Plus 15. Plus, okay, plus 15. You get something like that. And you do enter, and that's your answer. Guys, you don't need a calculator for this, but if you do, that's what you have to do. Okay, look, this is simple. Remember, you always do the opposite operation, okay? Now let's do the back, but now we're going to do the next two operations. Solve the following simple equations using multiplication or division. Now we're going to do, vamos a hacer ahora ecuaciones donde vamos a usar multiplicación y división. Okay? Guys, a hint. If the number is next to the variable, that means multiplication. You see that? The number, they like together, they married. Todo número que esté junto a la variable pegado, yo siempre les he dicho que están casados, ¿ok? Por lo tanto, eso quiere decir multiplicación. All right? Y la multiplicación es eliminada haciendo ¿qué? División. Y si fuese división, hiciéramos ¿qué? Multiplicación. Entonces, ahora, miren, es muy diferente porque aquí dice negative 6x, negativo 6x. No dice, no dice 6 menos x o 6 más x o negativo 6 más x. So, esto quiere decir, recuerden, multiplicación. Guys, that means multiplication. Okay, so when we do multiplication, what operations undo multiplication? ¿Qué operación elimina la multiplicación? Division. Okay, la división. So that means that we have to divide by negative 6. Be careful, guys. In this case, don't do plus 6 or don't divide plus 6, because when you divide it, you don't change the sign. You keep the sign, okay? So we divide by negative 6 because negative 6 divided by negative 6 becomes what? Positive 1, and that's the idea. The coefficient, this is called coefficient. The coefficient of any variable, if I write x, I know that's going to be 1, but I don't have to write the 1. Some of the kids do this. Negative 6 divided by negative 6, positive 1, and they write the 1, which is okay. They can do that, right? Now, when you divide 46 divided by negative 6, you get negative 7, all right? And at the end, the ending divided by 1, which is still going to be negative 7, okay? So remember, you don't have to put the 1 here, because when you, by doing this operation, you're not eliminating the 6. You're making the value of the variable 1, okay? So, muchachos, cuando el número que está enfrente de la variable es negativo, se divide entre el negativo. No lo cambian a positivo, ¿ok? No dividen entre positivo 6. Porque si dividen negativo 6 entre positivo 6, entonces le va a dar negativo 1. Y después tienen que dividir entre negativo 1. So, siempre que el número es negativo, se divide entre el mismo número con el mismo signo. All right? So, the answer here is x equals negative 7. I'm gonna do the rest just in English because this is basic stuff, and you should know, okay, at this point, you know, the basic terminology in English. So now, 2t equals 13. Obviously, this is multiplication because t is both multiplying with the number 2. So what I do in this case, I divide by 2. See, I don't divide by negative 2. I'm not changing the sign of the coefficient. I'm dividing by the number the way it is presented. So I divide both sides, and if I divide 13 over 2, it will give you 6.5, which is a decimal. That's okay, or you can leave it as a fraction. All right, it's the same thing. Here, that's 0.5, be careful, okay? So 0.5 times y. So to eliminate the 0.5, I divide by 0.5 both sides of the equation, okay? So when I do that, that actually is not cancelled out. Don't get confused, guys, because a lot of kids, oh, I eliminated the 5. Well, you can, the 0.5, well, you can think like that, but remember, that actually becomes 1 because the coefficient of the variable is 1. So 8 divided by 0.5, I think will give you 16, if I'm not mistaken, all right? So 8 divided by 0.5 is 16. So that should be, all right, the answer for that. Now here, 4y equals 32. Obviously, now you're getting familiar, right? That means multiplication, so I'm going to divide both sides by 4. So y equals 8. That should be my answer. That cancels, right? That doesn't cancel because 4 divided by 4 is 1. And it 1 right here, imaginary 1. Look, negative 2n. That means that the negative 2 is multiplied by n. So I have to eliminate the negative 2. But because of multiplication, I have to divide by the number with its sign, which is negative. So negative 2 divided by negative 2 is positive 1. That's the idea, to make it 1. So negative 19 divided by negative 2 gives you positive 18 because now we're dividing, and when you divide two negatives, it becomes positive. Remember, multiplication and division have the same rules. When you multiply or divide same sign numbers, the answer should be positive. And when you multiply or divide different signs, the answer should be negative. Like the next one. Look at this one. This one, the variable is on the other side. That's fine, that's okay. You don't have to rearrange it. If you want to rearrange it, do it, but you don't have to. So I know my idea is to leave the n alone. So I have to eliminate the negative 8. So that means I have to divide both sides by negative 8. This is what I'm talking about. Positive divided by negative is going to be negative. 48 divided by 8 is 6. My 8 cancel out, and I have my n. You can leave the answer like that, or you could just write it this way. It's the same thing. Remember, an equation means both sides are equal. All right? So, next, one more. We still have to use division because that means multiplication. So what I have to do is divide by negative 0.4, negative 0.4. Remember, when we have a decimal, this 0 doesn't mean anything. You can put 0.4, 0.4 is the same thing. But I'm just not writing the 0 because the 0 means nothing. So that becomes x equals, and now I'm dividing in negative by negative, so my answer is going to be plus. I don't have to write the plus sign, but if you do, you can do it. And I'm just going to divide 10 divided by 0.4, and that gives me 25. Okay? Or you can do it in the calculator. Negative 10 divided by negative 0.4, positive 25. Now look at here, guys. Now, the coefficient that has been on top here, all right, it has been a whole number. But here, believe it or not, the coefficient is a fraction. That's what it means. Because the x is being divided by 5, which is like 1/5 of x. That's what this expression, excuse me, that's what this expression represents. 1/5 of x. Un quinto de x is the same thing. So, you have two options. What I told my kids is, but if I do this now, guys, all right? If I do this, then you're going to end up doing two-step equations, okay, on the last three, which according to the lesson, I told you we're doing simple equation, which is only one step. But then again, I'm going to explain to you when I get there, okay? So, there is something called the reciprocal o el recíproco. Muchos de ustedes se acuerdan en la clase hicimos los recíprocos de una fracción, okay? Que se dan vuelta. Reciprocal of a number is just flip it, you know. If it's a whole number, you put one underneath and flip it. Or if it's a fraction, just flip it anyway, all right? So, just for you to remember. But the easiest way, how I taught you guys in class, it was just putting one on the other side to make a fraction, remember? So we create a proportion. And what do? We cross multiply, okay? So we multiply this times that, and that times that. So if you think about it, if you multiply x times 1 is x, and 5 times 3 is 15. So in other words, I actually doing multiplication, okay? Because I'm multiplying actually by the reciprocal. You don't see that, but I'm going to explain to you what I mean by the reciprocal when I get to the other side over there, to the bottom 3. Here, all right? If I put 1 underneath and I cross multiply, x times 1 is x, and 2 times 13 is 26. So that should be the answer for that one. Because believe it or not, okay, what I can see here is that x is being divided by 2. So what I'm doing is I'm just multiplying 13 times 2. Here, x is being divided by 5. So what I'm doing is multiplying 5 times 3 to get 15. But I'm telling you to put 1 underneath because that's how I remember I taught that in class the same way, okay? Look at this one, all right? This one, just put a 1 underneath, or just multiply these two, and you know that y equals negative 32. Up to here, we are so good because we're just doing one-step equation. But look what happened from here. If you want to use one-step equation, you must multiply by the reciprocal to do just one step, all right? Or you can put 1 underneath and cross multiply. I'm going to do both ways so you can see what I'm talking about. So remember about the reciprocal. I'm multiplying the x by 2/5. So if I want to eliminate the 2/5 in one step, okay, in one step, I will multiply both sides of the equation by the reciprocal of this, which is 5/2, all right? If I do that, see, I can cross cancel. I cancel the 5 with the 5 and the 2 with the 2, and I get my x alone. You can just put that on the calculator or do it on your head. 10 times 5 is 50. 50 divided by 2 is 25. Or on the calculator, what do you have to do? Just put 10, okay? Sorry, I'm trying to look for the best part. Parentheses, 5 divided by 2, okay, because that means multiplication, and I do enter, and I get 25. You can also put 10 times, parentheses, you have to put parentheses, 5 divided by 2, and you get 25, okay? Or, okay, let me just do that. I don't want to confuse you, okay? So that should be your answer. Here, this one is just like the one before. I didn't even know what I just rearranged it the wrong way. So here, actually, if the x is being divided by 9, the only thing I have to do is multiply these two. So that should be x equals 54. Now, this one is just like those. Now, I'm going to do this the same way I did that. To eliminate the 2/3, I will multiply both sides of the equation by the reciprocal, which is 3/2. Okay? By doing so, what happens? The 3 cancel with the 3, the 2 cancel with the 2 because you can cross cancel when you multiply in fractions, and you multiply 6 times 3, which is 18, divided by 2 is 9. Or use your calculator. Look, just what I said before, right? 6 parentheses 3 divided by 2, and you click enter, and the answer is 9. All right? Remember, the reciprocal, guy, that's one of the properties of real numbers that we learn during the school year. So everybody should know. So without, when you do summer school, you don't do everything in details because it's not the same thing. I mean, we don't have enough time. We only have like, what? Regular summer school is 8 weeks. But now because of what's going on in the world, we're only doing 5 weeks. So, same thing, all right? I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 3 over 1. If I multiply this by 3 over 1, okay, the 3 cancels with the 3, the 1 with the 1, and I get my x alone. 6 times 3 is 18. 18 divided by 1 is 18. All right? The reciprocal here is 9 over 2. So remember, if I multiply this side by the reciprocal, the 9 cancels with the 9, the 2 cancels with the 2, and I have x equals, you multiply 49 times 2, and whatever you get, you divide it by 2, all right? And I think you get 42 times 9. Oh, I made a mistake. 42 times 9 divided by 2 is 189. All right? And that's it. That's something very simple, guys, that you should do that in 1, 2, 3. Okay? So remember, tomorrow, hopefully you log in at 8 o'clock in the morning and work on this, and I will go live with you guys from 9:30 to 10. All right? So please make sure you log in tomorrow so we can take attendance. Thank you, guys, and have a good evening.